At the beginning of the 20th century, an archaeologist disappeared during excavations. Only a few weeks later, he was found in an unusual place, and in his hands was proof of the existence of a mysterious tunnel and mysterious artifacts. A lost Bible text, a ring with a hologram, evidence of the existence of giant gods, and a great battle of frogs. In this video, you will find the most amazing archaeological discoveries. Hi friend, you are on the CureTop channel. A chest of gold and concrete. During renovations at a villa in Vienna, workers discovered an incredible treasure. Under the concrete floor of the basement, they found a chest with 30 kilograms of gold Mozart coins. Their value is estimated at 2.3 million euros. The first to notice the mysterious cord sticking out of the concrete was a builder, but he decided not to touch it. Later, a plumber showed up on the scene, became interested in the find, and dug up the metal box. Now, according to Austrian law, he is entitled to a third of the treasure and possibly half, because the rest will go to the owner of the house. It is believed that the gold was hidden in the concrete before World War II. For the plumber, this was a real success, but the builder, who missed the chance, was clearly unlucky. Ritual cocktail composition. For the first time, scientists have been able to study the organic remains inside an ancient vessel that is 2,000 years old. The study has shown that the ancient Egyptians consumed a special ritual cocktail that included fruits, nuts, alcohol, biological fluids, and psychotropic substances. The vessel, known as the Be's mug, was studied using innovative technology developed by scientists from the University of South Florida together with colleagues from Italy. This is the first time that it has been possible to identify the full chemical composition of a ritual drink, including its psychotropic and medicinal components. Be's mugs were dedicated to the Egyptian god of the same name, the patron of fertility, healing, and protection. He was depicted with a crown of feathers, large eyes, and a tail. Such vessels were used from the 16th century BC to the 5th century AD, and the specimen under study dates back to the Ptolemaic period. The analysis showed traces of honey, grapes, sesame, pine nuts, licorice, and hallucinogenic components. Scientists assumed that the mixture was used in magical rituals. People were looking for confirmation of a successful pregnancy because in ancient times it was considered a dangerous and unpredictable process. Such a cocktail probably caused visions, helping to establish a connection with the deity. Fabric uterus. This unusual artifact, created by French midwife Angélique Marguerite Le Boursier du Coudray, is considered one of the world's first mannequins for teaching midwifery. In the 18th century, King Louis XV entrusted her with the task of reducing the infant mortality rate, which was critically high at the time. Angélique enthusiastically took up the task, traveled around France giving lectures, and developed a unique approach to teaching. The mannequin, which she called a maternity machine, was made life-size from fabric and other available materials. It included a uterus, placenta, umbilical cord, and a model of a baby, which allowed her to practice all stages of childbirth. The visual and practical component of her classes gave midwives of the time skills that they could immediately apply in practice. In addition, Du Coudray wrote a textbook on midwifery, which became a reference book for many generations of midwives. Her methods and approaches revolutionized 18th century medicine, and she left behind a legacy that saved thousands of lives. The mannequin you see is not just an artifact, but a symbol of life-saving science and a unique monument to the history of medicine. Lost Bible text. Archaeologists have found a unique 5th century amulet in Turkey depicting King Solomon defeating the devil. The 1,600-year-old bronze pendant is engraved with the ancient Greek inscription, "Our Lord has defeated the devil." This artifact may be related to a lost Bible text that speaks of Solomon's magical powers. Sources claim that during the 1st–5th centuries, there was a text called the Testament of Solomon, which was not included in the canon. In this text, Archangel Michael gives Solomon a magic ring that allows him to control demons. The amulet confirms that Solomon was perceived not only as a wise king, but also as a champion of evil. The artifact was discovered among the ruins of an ancient military structure in Adrianople, modern Edirne. The amulet probably belonged to a soldier who believed in Solomon's magical protection. The reverse side of the pendant is engraved with the names of the archangels, Azrael, Israfel, Gabriel, and Michael. This symbolizes protection from evil, uniting the traditions of different religions. Azrael is known as the angel of death in Judaism and Islam. Israfil is the herald of the end of the world, blowing the trumpet on the day of judgment. Gabriel and Michael are widely revered in Christianity. The first is the messenger of God, the second is a spiritual warrior. All these names enhance the protective meaning of the amulet. The amulet with Solomon is not just a historical find, it demonstrates how legends and religious traditions intertwine in different eras. The figure of Solomon unites three world religions, remaining a symbol of wisdom and strength. Ring with a hologram. This unusual Roman ring, found in the tomb of the noblewoman Aebutia Quarta, dates back to the 1st century AD. Its unique feature is the hologram effect created by a masterfully engraved portrait, presumably of her son Titus Carvilius Gemello. Titus, according to historical data, died at the age of 18, and the ring probably served as a tribute and symbol of his mother's grief. The ring is made of gold, and the stone set in the frame is perfectly polished and contains a miniature image. This portrait is unusual for that time. The details of the face look so realistic that they create the impression of a three-dimensional image, as if looking out from the depths of the stone. This technique of execution was incredibly complex, indicating the highest level of skill of ancient Roman jewelers. But the ring also raises mystical questions. Some believe that its owner could have used it as an amulet connecting her with the spirit of her son, perhaps for advice or protection. The mystery of the artifact is enhanced by the fact that very few similar engravings with this effect have been found, and it is still unclear how such a striking optical illusion was achieved. Vintage time capsule. Experienced treasure hunter Jane Eastman recently made an unusual discovery at the bottom of a river in England. She found a Victorian glass bottle filled with pickles. Jane showed this amazing treasure to her Instagram followers, where her find caused a heated discussion. The bottle, made of green water glass, was in excellent condition, and its lid with the inscription W&D Harvest Dowgate Dock London prompted Jane to research its history. She found out that W&D Harvest was a company selling spices and pickles in London since the 1870s, and the bottle she found probably dates back to the period 1890 to 1910. According to Jane, the bottle was completely sealed, so the pickles were preserved. The woman called it a real time capsule and decided not to open the find to preserve it in its original condition. To do this, she sealed the lid with sealing wax. Long pickle jars were popular in the Victorian era due to their practicality. The only thing that is not yet clear is whether the cucumbers remained edible. Spanish Stonehenge. This amazing megalithic monument, known as the Spanish Stonehenge, is located on the banks of the Tagus River in Spain. Its age is estimated at about 7,000 years, which makes it 2,000 years older than the famous Stonehenge in England and older than the Egyptian pyramids. The complex consists of more than 100 vertically installed granite stones forming a circle and ellipses. Officially, this object is called the Guadalperral Dolmen, and its purpose still remains a mystery. Scientists suggest that it could have served as a place of rituals, a temple, and possibly an astronomical observatory. The stones are arranged in such a way that their orientation is related to the position of the sun at certain times of the year. This confirms that the ancient builders had a deep knowledge of astronomy. For a long time, the dolmen was underwater due to the construction of a dam in 1963, and only a recent drought allowed archaeologists and researchers to take another look at this amazing object. What inspired ancient people to create such a grandiose structure? 2,000-year-old fig. Irish archaeologists have made a surprising discovery when they found the charred remains of a 2,000-year-old fig tree on Drumnach Point north of Dublin. The find is important evidence that the Roman Empire, which once considered Ireland untouchable, did have an impact on its culture. Drumnach Point was a key point of contact between Ireland and Roman-ruled England. The fig was the most surprising of the finds made by researchers from University College Dublin. The seeds of the fruit confirm that it was brought to the island at a time when such exotic fruits were considered rare. Figs had previously only been found in medieval strata in Ireland, but this is the oldest known. As well as the figs, traces of spelt were found, a grain widely consumed in Roman Britain but rare in Ireland. The finds show that the Romans not only traded goods but also transferred lifestyles. Archaeologist Christine Baker said that the people of Ireland at the time enjoyed spelt bread, olive oil, wine in used glass, and ceramic dishes, brooches, and beads. Figs, first grown in eastern Turkey and northern India, were carried by ancient trade routes to the Mediterranean, where they became an important part of the Roman diet. Researchers believe that figs and spelt may have been brought through Roman Chester, a major trading post in Britain. Same-sex love in Pompeii. 2,000 years ago, when Mount Vesuvius destroyed the ancient Roman city of Pompeii, two victims of the disaster clung to each other in their final moments. They became known as the two virgins and were thought to be mother and daughter or sisters. But new DNA research has changed the perception of their story. Scientists from the Max Planck Institute analyzed the remains preserved in plaster casts. The results showed that both victims were men, and their posture could indicate that they were in a very close relationship. Now experts are speculating that the pair may have been gay lovers. Tomography and DNA analysis confirmed that the victims were not related. The man, designated Person 22, was over 20 years old, and his companion, Person 21, was between 14 and 19 years old. I don't think it's entirely correct to draw a conclusion about same-sex love simply based on men's pose during a volcanic eruption. But modern scientists can also surprise us with their reasoning. My goal was only to tell about this, so to speak, discovery, and whether to believe scientists or not is up to everyone to decide. Mongoose statue from ancient Egypt. This artifact is not only a fascinating find, but also a mystical one. In ancient Egyptian mythology, the mongoose was associated with the divine powers of light and protection. In Heliopolis, the center of the cult of the sun god Ra, the mongoose symbolized the victory of light over darkness. According to myths, the god Ra, taking the form of a mongoose, fought Apophis, the serpent of chaos, who threatened the solar boat. This bronze statue with a solar disk on its head symbolizes solar energy and immortality. Such artifacts were often placed in temples or used in rituals to protect against evil. Interestingly, some researchers suggest that the mongoose, with its ability to hunt snakes, also symbolized the ability to overcome difficulties and defeat enemies, both spiritual and physical. Many such figurines were found in tombs, where they probably served as amulets to help the souls of the dead overcome dangers in the afterlife. Mongooses, which became part of sacred Egyptian symbolism, remain a reminder of the deep connections between nature, religion, and the spiritual philosophy of this ancient people. 17th century treasure. Father and son Slawomir and Simon Malewski, amateur archaeologists, made an incredible discovery when they accidentally stumbled upon a cache of rare coins. Their value exceeds $120,000. The treasure was found near the village of Pompeii in Mazovia, north of Warsaw. The Malewskis were looking for an ancient Roman road, but instead found 17 silver coins from the 16th, 17th centuries. The coins are of two types, thalers and patagons. Thalers are large silver coins popular in Europe and the predecessors of the modern dollar. Patagons were minted in the Spanish Netherlands and were also of considerable value. Among the finds are coins depicting European rulers, such as a thaler from 1630 with a portrait of the King of Poland and Sweden's Sigismund III Vasa. Other coins, such as the 1623 thaler, were minted for only a couple of years and are rare today. The most likely origin of the treasure is linked to the 30 Years' War. Perhaps a soldier lost his pay or a merchant hid the money to protect it from robbers. There was a tavern nearby where, according to archaeologists, valuables were often buried before visiting. Black granite slab. Heracleion, once one of the greatest ports of ancient Egypt, disappeared under the sea after a devastating earthquake in the 1st century BC. Its existence was long considered a myth until French archaeologist Franck Godot discovered the lost city in the early 2000s in Abu Qir Bay, off the modern coast of Egypt. The most striking find was a massive black granite slab on which the name of the city and details of its connection with the ancient Egyptian gods were carved. Along with the slab, archaeologists found dozens of sunken ships, remarkably well-preserved statues, temples, and many artifacts, including jewelry, coins, and personal belongings of residents. Excavations are ongoing, and each discovered object sheds light on the role of Heracleion as a vital center of trade and religious life. The city, submerged in the sea abyss, remains a reminder of how natural disasters can forever change the course of history. The Risen Telemon. This unique Atlantean from the Temple of Zeus in the ancient city of Agrigento in Sicily is one of the most impressive examples of monumental sculpture of the 5th century BC. The temple, built in the Doric style, was considered one of the largest temples of the ancient world, and its architecture reflected the power of Greek civilization. The telemons, which acted as supports, had a symbolic meaning depicting the titanic force supporting the sky or the enormous weight of an architectural structure. These giant statues, about 7.5 meters high, were impressive both in their detail and size. One of the telemons was restored and installed in its original place, demonstrating the complexity of the engineering and artistic solutions of the ancient masters. But there are myths and mysteries surrounding the Atlanteans. Some researchers believe that the images of the Titans could reflect ancient myths about the confrontation between the gods and giants, and their position in the temple symbolized their conquest. Others believe that such sizes and shapes could have been used as images of extraterrestrial beings, which the ancient inhabitants believed in. Crucifixion of Christ in a ring. This incredible ring, dating from around 1620, is a true masterpiece of miniature art. Under glass is a detailed crucifixion scene made of ivory. Each figure, from the Roman soldiers to the spectators present at the execution, is carved with stunning precision. Particular attention is drawn to the tiny crosses and the figure of Christ, which emphasize the drama of the scene. It is believed that the ring was made in France or Spain, countries where religious art was developed at that time. Perhaps this piece belonged to a high-ranking religious figure or a wealthy aristocrat, for whom it served not only as an ornament but also as a symbol of faith. Such things were often used as personal relics, reminding us of the suffering and sacrifice of Christ. The mystical atmosphere of this artifact is given by the question, how did the master manage to create such tiny details without modern tools? It seems as if this ring is the result not only of human skill, but also of inspiration, which could have been granted from above. A fragment of a dwelling. This surviving section of a Roman leather tent is a fascinating reminder of the lives of the soldiers who guarded Hadrian's wall in Roman Britain. Built in the early 2nd century AD, the wall stretched for 117 kilometers, dividing the Roman Empire from the barbarian lands to the north. Fort Vercovicium, part of this defensive system, was an important garrison where Roman soldiers lived and served. The tents were made from dozens of goat skins, carefully stitched to withstand the harsh northern climate of Britain. Each contubernium, a group of 8 soldiers, had one of these tents. It was their home, their resting place, and their refuge from the elements. The manufacturing process was so skillful that the seams and joints provided protection from rain and wind, which was crucial in conditions of constant dampness and cold. But the surviving section of the tent raises questions. How could such a fragile material survive for 2,000 years? Archaeologists suggest that it was preserved by the special conditions of the fort's soil as well as the minimal impact of oxygen. Mystics claim that such tents could have been impregnated with special solutions, the secret of which has been lost. Perhaps this is a legacy of knowledge that the ancient Romans could have received from other, more mysterious civilizations. Multi-component poison. In South Africa, archaeologists have made a surprising discovery in the Kruger Cave. They found a bone case about 7,500 years old, which contained the remains of bone arrowheads and traces of a complex multi-component poison. Analysis showed that ancient hunters used powerful cardiotoxins such as digitoxin and strophanthodin as well as ricinoleic acid, indicating the presence of ricin. These substances indicate a high level of knowledge of the tribes in creating poisons. Such mixtures were used to hunt large animals, protect against enemies, and in rituals to attract good luck. Creating poisons was a painstaking process, and the secrets of their production were carefully guarded and passed down through generations. Kruger Cave, where people lived as far back as 10,000 years ago, reveals new details about their way of life. This discovery highlights how adaptive knowledge helped them survive in harsh conditions and maintain a balance with nature. Frog fight. Frogs don't usually inspire fear or anxiety in most people, but in the small town of Windham, Connecticut, these creatures have a special place in history and culture. Today, frogs adorn the logos of local businesses, the town seal, and even 4 bronze figures on the Frog Bridge. The reason for this love was a funny incident that occurred in June 1754. At that time, Windham was a tiny village on the Connecticut frontier. Residents lived in constant anxiety due to rumors of Indian attacks. One dark night, the settlers were awakened by an incredible noise. The sound seemed to be drums, then war cries. Some claimed that they were doomsday trumpets. The terrified men armed themselves and ran out into the darkness. The panic was heightened by stories of vibrating beds and ominous whispers. At dawn, it turned out that the noise was not caused by an Indian attack, but by a skirmish between hundreds of bullfrogs over the last drops of water in a drying pond. The drought had depleted all available sources, and the frogs were fighting for their survival. The noise of this battle was so loud that it frightened the entire village. Rumors of the incident spread throughout Connecticut, and the residents of Windham became the object of ridicule. However, rather than hushing up the story, the townspeople turned it into a symbol of their identity. The pond was renamed Frog Pond, and the frogs adorned the official seal of the town. Windham later became proud of this curious episode, creating songs, poems, and even banknotes with images of frogs. Some researchers have suggested that the frogs could have used this behavior to attract females under stress due to a decrease in territory. Others doubt that a fight over water was the only cause of the noise. There was plenty of water left in the pond, and no traces of battles between frogs were found. Today, the Frog Bridge with its bronze amphibians reminds us of the event that turned a modest town into a legend. The story of the Windham Frogs remains a shining example of how an unusual event can become part of a cultural heritage and a symbol of pride for generations of residents. The world's oldest alphabet. Archaeologists have discovered the world's oldest alphabet dating back over 4,000 years in Syria. This unique find was made in the tomb of el-Mara, one of the oldest cities in the Middle East. The clay cylinders engraved with symbols date back to 2400 BC, making them about 500 years older than all known alphabets. According to the researchers, the inscriptions on the cylinders were likely used as labels to indicate the contents of the vessels, their owners, or their origin. Although the symbols have not yet been deciphered, radiocarbon dating has confirmed their age, dating back to the early Bronze Age. Previously, it was believed that the alphabet arose around 1900 BC in Egypt or its surroundings. But these discoveries are forcing us to rewrite history. The alphabet revolutionized writing, making it accessible to people outside the royal nobility. It changed not only the ways of communication, but also thinking, interaction between people, and the transfer of knowledge. The discovery was the result of 16 years of excavations by an international team of scientists. In addition to the cylinders, skeletons, gold and silver jewelry, a spearhead, ceramics, and utensils were found in the tomb. These discoveries show how ancient cultures developed writing, forming the basis of modern languages. Hidden essence. This unique Mayan clay figure was found in the Petén region of Guatemala and dates back to the Classic period. The figure is seated in a pose of deep contemplation or ritual gesture, with open palms symbolizing an offering or appeal to the gods. On his head is a mask that evokes associations with modern helmets or even spacesuits, making this artifact the subject of much speculation. The mask could symbolize a connection with the other world or be part of a ceremonial costume designed to imitate gods or spirits. However, some researchers see references to extraterrestrial contacts in its unusualness. Mayan legends often mention sky people who brought knowledge from other worlds, and such iconography could be a symbolic representation of these traditions. The figure also has decorations, a massive medallion and bracelets, which indicates the high status of the person depicted. Perhaps this was the figure of a priest or shaman performing an important ritual role. Frozen beauty. This mourning mask of a young woman, created by an unknown artisan of the Liao dynasty, 907-1125, demonstrates the highest level of metalworking of the time. Made of gilded bronze, this mask embodies an image of serenity and refined elegance. The Liao, who ruled over northern China, were known for their innovations in craftsmanship, including adapting Chinese techniques into their own unique styles. This mask likely served as an important amulet to protect the soul of the deceased woman on her journey to the afterlife. You can see subtle features in it that reflect a portrait resemblance to the deceased, which sets it apart from other cultural artifacts of that time. A special fastening under the chin, designed to be secured under silk clothing, suggests that the mask not only had aesthetic value, but also served a practical purpose in burial rituals. Mystics suggest that such masks could carry information or energy that connects descendants with their ancestors. Some researchers argue that the characteristic style of rounded features could have been inspired by some unearthly visitors, especially given the symbolism and sacred customs of the Liao. Archaeologist missing. At the beginning of the 20th century, British archaeologist Archibald Bell worked in Egypt studying the pyramids of Giza. In 1925, he suddenly disappeared right in the middle of the excavations. The team searched for his traces for a long time, but to no avail. According to rumors, Bell went to explore a previously unknown tunnel inside the Pyramid of Cheops but never returned. A few weeks later, Egyptian workers accidentally stumbled upon a small hidden passage in one of the corridors of the pyramid. There, they found Bell's body with a notebook in his hand. As it turned out from his notes, he entered an unknown room, locked for millennia, but the entrance was blocked by stones and the archaeologist was trapped. His notes contained a description of unusual artifacts that were never found again, a stone staff and unknown writing. This story gave rise to a lot of rumors about the curse of the pharaohs, which supposedly falls on those who disturb the peace of ancient rulers. Although some of the facts have been confirmed, many details still remain a mystery. Giant fishing channels. Archaeologists have made a sensational discovery. 4,000-year-old fishing channels created by the precursors of the Mayan civilization have been discovered in Belize, in the territory of the modern Crooked Tree Nature Reserve. Using drone data and Google Earth images, the researchers revealed a complex network of earthen channels that stretch for several kilometers through marshy areas. These unique zigzagging channels indicate that people were already actively modifying the landscape at that time. Around the channels, archaeologists found serrated points that were probably used to catch fish, such as catfish, as well as reservoirs for storing the catch. It is believed that the channels were built about 4,000 years ago by semi-sedentary peoples on the coast of Yucatan and were used for more than 1,000 years. This coincides with the formative period when the Maya began the transition to sedentary agriculture and the formation of their unique culture. Major landscape changes such as these canals preceded the construction of the great Mayan temples, roads, and pyramids, and became the foundation of their cultural development. These canals not only provided food but also contributed to population growth and dietary diversity. Archaeologists believe that the knowledge and experience of these early peoples played an important role in the emergence of the great Mayan civilization, linking it to older traditions. Oldest human tooth. Scientists have announced a sensational discovery in Germany. Ancient dental fossils estimated to be almost 10 million years old that they say do not fit into the established chronology of human history. What's truly shocking is that one of these fossils resembles the teeth of man's earliest ancestors. However, until now, such teeth have only been found in Africa, not Europe, and even then the existing range of fossils is millions of years younger. Found in September 2016 near the German city of Eppelsheim, two well-preserved teeth date back to approximately 9.7 million years ago. One of the teeth, an upper right first molar, is similar in characteristics to other specimens found in the area. But the other tooth, the upper left canine, is different, and the researchers say its outline and shape are similar to those of hominin species, including Australopithecus afarensis. The problem is that Lucy is estimated to be only 3 million years old, and it is believed that humanity's earliest ancestors began their migration from Africa to Europe and Asia approximately 100,000 years ago. So the question is, who did these teeth belong to? Which were in the wrong place and at the wrong time, and how did they get there? Medieval ring. The legendary Sherwood Forest, famous for Robin Hood, the robber who took from the rich for the benefit of the poor, has given treasure to the modern treasure hunter. A medieval ring found in the ground and believed to date from the 14th century. Mark Thompson, who paints forklifts for a living, discovered the artifact in the famous Nottinghamshire forest just 20 minutes after he began searching with a metal detector. 34-year-old Thompson, who took up the hobby just 18 months ago, was expecting to find something minor, but discovered a gold ring with a precious sapphire. The find is being evaluated for treasure, and Thompson is hoping for a big win. Valuers estimate the ring could be worth between £20,000 and £70,000. The guy is eagerly awaiting the outcome of the trial to confirm the ring's status as treasure. If it is recognized as such, it will be assessed by experts and offered for purchase to museums, and Thompson will receive a reward. The ring, decorated with the image of the infant Christ on one side and a female saint on the other, came to us from the 14th century. Who started the Dublin fire? On June 18, 1875, one of the most unusual fires in history occurred in Dublin. On Chambers Street, the fire started in the warehouse of Lawrence Malone, where more than 1 million liters of whiskey and other strong drinks were stored. The cause of the fire remained a mystery, but its consequences were tragic and at the same time curious. When the fire reached 5,000 wooden barrels of alcohol, they began to explode, releasing a stream of burning alcohol into the streets. The narrow alleys of the Liberties district turned into rivers of fiery whiskey, up to 2 meters wide and 400 meters long. The first to raise the alarm were pigs in a nearby pen. Their squealing woke up the residents and allowed many to escape. Crowds of people ran out into the streets and began to collect alcohol in any suitable container. Saucepans, hats, and some even scooped it up with their hands. No one realized that the whiskey was undiluted and extremely strong. The result was tragic. 13 people died not from fire or suffocation, but from alcohol poisoning. Firefighters faced an unusual problem. Water could not be used since alcohol is lighter than water, and the fire would only flare up more. In the end, the flames were extinguished with sand, gravel, and horse manure. This method turned out to be effective. The liquid was absorbed, and the flames gradually died down. The fire in Dublin became a legend. In 2014, in honor of this event, a craft whiskey, the Flaming Pig, was released, named in memory of the pigs who were the first to warn the townspeople of the danger. This story remains a reminder of human carelessness and unusual ways to fight fire, as well as an example of how even a tragedy can leave a mark on culture and traditions. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Bye, everyone.